It's going to end up being better than ever. I want to thank you very much for being here, and I'd like to update you on the steps we're taking on our ongoing fight to defeat the virus. This morning at 7:55, I spoke to the leaders of the G20. Had a great meeting, and we have a lot of different ideas, a lot of good ideas. We're working together. The leaders gathered virtually around the world to discuss the whole subject of the problem that right now 151 nations have got. We had President Alberto Fernandez of Argentina, Prime Minister Scott Morrison of Australia, President Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, President Xi of China, President Emmanuel Macron of France, Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany, Prime Minister Modi of India, President Widodo of Indonesia, Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte of Italy, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan. Congratulations to Japan on making a great decision. Next year, 2021. President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador of Mexico. I want to thank the President of Mexico for having done such a great job with respect to the military. We have 27,000 Mexican soldiers on our southern border, and very few people are getting through. I can tell you that. We got to keep it that way. And we have a great relationship with Mexico now. President Putin of Russia, King Salman of Saudi Arabia, President Ramaphosa of South Africa, President Moon of, as you know, a country that we spend a lot of time in, South Korea. We're working very hard on that. Prime Minister Sanchez of Spain, President Erdogan of Turkey, Prime Minister Boris Johnson of the United Kingdom, President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Council, Charles Michel, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, World Health Organization Director Tedros Adhanom, World Bank President David Malpass, and the International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva. So that's a big group, but it's a great group. And they were all there, every one of them, and we talked about the problem, and hopefully it won't be a problem for too much longer. The United States is working with our friends and partners around the world to stop the spread of the virus and coordinate our efforts. We discussed how vitally important it is for all of our nations to immediately share information and data, and we've been doing that to a large extent, but we'll do it even more so, and to inform our, I guess you could say, inform each of us on the fight that we've got going one way or the other. It's a little bit different, but we're handling it a little bit in different ways. But there is great uniformity, I think. It was a terrific meeting, tremendous spirit among all of those countries. You had 20 countries plus the other people that I mentioned, and a tremendous spirit to get this over with. After the meeting with the world leaders, I spoke with the governors of our 50 states and territories. Our team has been in constant communication with the governors, and we had a terrific meeting. Somebody in the fake news said that one of the governors said, "Oh, we need Tom Brady." I said, "Yeah." He meant that in a positive way. He said, "We need Tom Brady. We're going to do great." And he meant it very positively, but they took it differently. They think Tom Brady should be leading the effort. That's only fake news, and I like Tom Brady. Spoke to him the other day. He's a great guy. But I wish the news could be real. I wish it could be honest. I wish it weren't corrupt. But so much of it is. It's so sad to see. Just so sad to see. Meeting. I tell you what. I'm sure you have tapes of the meeting. I'm sure that you were able to get tapes very easily. So you had 50 governors plus, and if you had tapes, you'd see it was really, I mean, there was no contention. I would say virtually none. I would say maybe one person, there was a little tiny bit of a raising of a voice, a little wise guy, a little bit. But he's usually a big wise guy, not so much anymore. We saw to it that he wouldn't be so much anymore, but he is, we had I mean, I would rate Mike was there, a lot of the folks in the back were there. And it was a great meeting, took place at about 12 o'clock. So we went from the G20 to the governors. We also spoke about the economic relief for the governors and the package that we're moving through Congress to deliver much needed financial assistance to hardworking families and small businesses. The largest by far, and I'm profoundly grateful that both parties came together to provide relief for American workers and families in this hour of need. The House of Representatives must now pass this bill, hopefully without delay. I think it's got tremendous support. When you're at 96 to nothing, and as you know, a couple of those people are quarantined, and one, Rand Paul, is he's actually got it, but he'll be better. He's been a great guy. He's been a great friend of mine, actually. The massive $2.2 trillion relief package includes job retention loans for small businesses with loan forgiveness available for businesses that keep their workers on the payroll. It's pretty good. Loan forgiveness, keep the workers on the payroll. It's pretty good. Direct cash payments will be available to American citizens earning less than $99,000 per year, $3,400 for the typical family of four. Expanded unemployment benefits. The average worker who has lost his or her job will receive 100% of their salary for up to 4 full months. These are things that, by the way, we have plenty more to go, but they're things that nobody's ever had any package like this done. And I just want to thank them. Hopefully it'll get approved equally easily in the House. Really, I think it will go through pretty well from what I hear. Virtually everybody. There could be one grandstander maybe. You might have one grandstander. And for that we'll have to come back and take a little more time, and it'll pass. It'll just take a little longer. But let's see whether or not we have a grandstander. Critical support for the hardest hit industries with a ban on corporate stock buybacks and tough new safeguards to prevent executive compensation abuse. Over $100 billion for our amazing doctors, nurses, and hospitals. $45 billion for the disaster relief fund, more than doubling the amount available. This is tremendous stuff. $27 billion for the coronavirus response, including $16 billion to build up the strategic national stockpile with critical supplies, including masks, respirators, and all sorts of pharmaceuticals. $3.5 billion to expand assistance to child care providers and child care benefits to healthcare workers, first responders, and others on the front lines of the crisis. And these are really brave, incredible people, I have to say. And some of them are getting sick, and some of them are getting very sick, and some of them don't even recover. They're incredible people. $1 billion for Defense Production Act procurement. We are, as you know, using the act, but we use it only when necessary. We use it as leverage. We generally don't have to use it to accomplish what we want to accomplish. As of today, FEMA has shipped over 9 million N95 masks, 20 million face masks, 3.1 million face shields, nearly 6,000 ventilators, 2.6 million gowns, 14.6 million gloves. And we're sending more every day, and we've got tremendous amounts of equipment coming in. A lot of great companies are making equipment right now. The ventilators, obviously, they take a little longer to make, but we have a lot of companies making them, and we're going to be in great shape. We took over an empty shelf. We took over a very depleted place in a lot of ways. As you know, the testing is going very, very well. And that was obsolete and broken, and we fixed it, and it's been going really good. And I think, very importantly, the stockpile, we're really filling it up, and we fill it up rapidly, but we get it out. Sometimes we have it sent directly to the states instead. And again, the state has to be doing this kind of a thing also. We're sort of we look from behind a little bit and we look at how are they doing, and if they need help we do it, but it's their first responsibility. Sometimes they just can't get it, but we load it up and we send it out, but if we can, we have it sent directly to the state. We want it to go directly to the point where we want it. I can now announce something that I think is incredible, what they've done in the Navy, because the incredible naval hospital ship, the USNS Comfort, which is incredible actually when you see it inside, will be underway to New York City on Saturday. So it's going to be leaving on Saturday rather than 3 weeks from now. And they did the maintenance quickly and
Fantastic.
quite a while longer, another 3 or 4 weeks. And,
Great report.
it should be arriving. I told the governor 20 minutes ago, Governor Cuomo, that the ship will be arriving at New York Harbor on Monday. I think I'm going to go out and I'll kiss it goodbye. I'll go to it's in Virginia, as you know, and I will go and we'll be waving together because I suspect
unemployment numbers out to 3.3 million. I think it's not a surprise, but it's still a staggering number. I'm wondering about your perspective.
well, it's nobody's fault. Certainly not in this country. Nobody's fault. We got very lucky when we made a decision not to allow people in from China at a very early date. I say that because some people don't want to accept it. But this was a great decision made by our country. Well, the numbers that you're talking about, we're a big country, that'd be far greater, far bigger. So when I heard the number, I mean, I heard it could be 6 million, could be 7 million. It's 3.3 or 3.2. But it's a lot of jobs. But I think we'll come back very strong. The sooner we get back to work, every day that we stay out, it gets harder to bring it back to work. And people don't want to stay out. So I know those numbers, John, but I think you'll see a very fast turnaround once we have a victory over the hidden enemy, as I say. It's a hidden enemy. Sometimes a hidden enemy is a lot tougher than somebody that stares you in the face. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, they're fully expected numbers, at least. Steve, please.
Proposal to deploy some troops along the Canadian border.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about that. Why is that necessary?
Well, we have very strong deployments on the southern border, as you know, with Mexico, and we had some troops up in Canada, but I'll find out about that. I guess it's equal justice to a certain extent. But in Canada, we do have troops along the border. We have a lot of things coming in from Canada. We have trade, some illegal trade that we don't like. We have very strong sanctions on some, we have very strong tariffs on dumping steel, and we don't like steel coming through our border that's been dumped in Canada, so they can avoid the tariff. You're not charged a lot of tariff for the steel, and it's been great for our steel companies because now they can really go. You look at what's happened with steel; it's been pretty incredible. But we've taken in billions and billions of dollars in tariffs on steel, and much of it comes in from China, but they can come through the Canadian border too. So we're always watching for that.
Numbers correctly, the United States now has surpassed China as the country with the highest number of virus cases. Does this surprise you at all? Is it following a predictable trajectory?
No, I think it's a tribute to our testing. Number one, you don't know what the numbers are in China. China tells you numbers, and I'm speaking to President Xi tonight, I believe, and we'll have a good conversation, I'm sure. But you just don't know, what are the numbers. But I think it's a tribute to the testing. We're testing tremendous numbers of people, and every day the way the system works. And I want to thank especially Roche, has been fantastic, great company. They've done a tremendous amount. Deborah was telling me before that they've really stepped up to the plate and done great, as have other of the companies, but it seems that they're really doing it particularly well. We'll see what happens there, but it's a tribute to the amount of testing that we're doing. We're doing tremendous testing. And I'm sure you're not able to tell what China is testing or not testing. I think that's a little hard.
Mr. President, on
about the 3.3 jobless claims, you just suggested it could 6 to 7 million. A lot of those workers.
No, I didn't say that. No, you're wrong. I didn't say that. I said some people were projecting that would be 6 or 7, and it's, I believe, 3.3.
Millions of Americans out of work. Some will be losing their insurance. What's your plan to make sure, through no fault of your own, as you just mentioned, that they stay insured? Are you willing to plus up the subsidies for some of the exchanges under Obamacare, expand Medicaid? What's being considered?
So, well, I mean, the things I just read to you are being considered, and other things are being considered. People are going to be getting big checks, and it's not their fault. What happened to them is not their fault. So we're doing a lot of different things on health insurance. We have meetings on it today. We're taking care of our people. This is not their fault, what happened, and we're taking care. We're starting off by sending them very big checks. I think for a family of 4, it's about $3,000. And we're taking care of our people. We're taking care of our workers. This was not, as I say, this was not a financial crisis. This was a health crisis, about a health crisis. We're going to take care of our people. Please. Yeah. Please. And you could go as high as 10 or 11%, but they'll all come back in one form or another. It might be a different restaurant, but it's going to be a great business for a lot of people. And we're making it easy for people to look what we're doing in terms of loans, what we're doing in terms of salaries. They'll all come back. It may not be the same restaurant, may not be the same ownership, but they'll all be back. Yes, sir, please.
You mentioned the pledges from American companies to provide supplies, but does it get, as we top 81,000 cases in the U.S., does it make sense to relook at using the Defense Production Act?
Well, I talked about the Defense Production Act a lot, and I've enacted it. I have it. I can do it with a pen. And we have actually used it on 2 minor occasions, and then we could withdraw it. But for the most part, the companies, we don't need it. We say, we need this, and they say, don't bother, we're going to do it. I mean, we're dealing with Ford, General Motors, 3M, we're dealing with great companies. They want to do this. They want to do this. They're doing things that frankly, they don't need somebody to walk over there with a hammer and say, do it. They are getting it done. They're making tremendous amounts of equipment, tremendous amounts. And when this is over, we're going to be fully stockpiled, which they would have never been, except for a circumstance. This was something that nobody has ever thought could happen to this country. I'm not even blaming. Look, we inherited a broken situation, but I don't totally blame the people that were before me in this administration. Nobody would have ever thought a thing like this could have happened. But the Production Act, Defense Production Act, is a wonderful thing, but I just haven't had to use it. They know it's activated. They know I can use it. Maybe that frightens them a little bit. It's got tremendous power, but I haven't had to. Please.
Thanks, sir. A question for me, and then another question, if you'll let me, for some of my colleagues who are social distancing.
Where are they? They're all outside trying to get in, I know.
The first question has to do with cruise liners like Carnival and Royal Caribbean. They want this relief aid, but they're worried that because they offshore to places like Panama and Liberia, they might not qualify. Senator Hawley has said that they should move back to the United States before they get a check. Do you agree? Should they pay U.S. taxes to get U.S. taxpayer relief?
So I'm a big fan of Senator Hawley, and I also like the idea. There were some senators that didn't want to do anything, like Carnival, great company, but they're based in different places. I won't tell you where. I can tell you exactly where they're based, but I won't do that. But they're based in actually more than one places. Ships are registered at different locations. I do like the concept of perhaps coming in and registering here, coming into the United States. It's very tough to make a loan to a company when they're based in a different country. But with that being said, there are thousands and thousands of people that work there, and maybe almost as importantly, that work on shore, filling these ships with goods and products. And the cruise line business is very important. And I know Carnival, what a great job they do, Mickey Harrison. And I would think that we could stick with Senator Hawley and maybe really look at that very seriously. Look, it's a big business. It's a great business. It's a business that employs tremendous number of people outside of the ship itself. I mean, you look at these ports. It's loaded up with shops and people that are involved with the ship. So we're going to work very hard on the cruise line business, and we're going to try and work something out. But I like the concept. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. The Senate bill includes aid that's directly tied to the airlines. And since before the pandemic, Boeing was already suffering from the losses of 737 airplanes. Do you think it's appropriate to use this legislation to sort of provide them with $17 billion of aid on top of $25 billion that they could qualify for as a passenger airline, and then another $4 billion that they could qualify for as a cargo airline? Is that fair?
So the airline business is a very tough business. Over many years, it's been very, very tough. It's got everything. It's got labor. It's got very strong, powerful, you look at the cost of these airliners, everything is tough, very highly technological. You look at how complicated, how complex. It's got unions. It's got everything. The airline business, generally speaking, has unions. It's a very tough business, always been a very tough business. With that being said, we have to keep our airlines going. And we're going to be using some. Now, maybe we'll take a piece of the airlines for the country, where we loan money and we take a piece. It's all fully ready. We're ready to go. But if we didn't do that, we'd end up with no airlines, and we can't do that. The airline business is very vital to our country. It's a tough business. We have to understand that. So, I can tell you other businesses that are different kinds of business. They're very good businesses, but airlines have always been very, very tough. Please. No, please. Yeah, I didn't call you. I called this channel.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. On Monday,
Who are you with?
did you speak with?
Who are you with?
I'm with Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Bloomberg. It's Mario Park.
How's Michael doing? Good.
Mr. President, on Monday, did you speak with Chinese President Xi before you urged Americans to not blame Asian Americans for the coronavirus? We noticed that you backed off of that language. I know you're speaking with him
No,
again
I'm
tonight.
speaking to him tonight. It's scheduled to go tonight. I'm calling the President Xi of China. Very good relationship. No, I didn't like when they came up, and it wasn't him. Somebody at a lower level, mid-level, we found out pretty much. But they made a statement that our soldiers brought it into China. No, it came from China. And, we just signed a very big deal with China. They're paying us a lot of money in tariffs and other things. They never paid us 10 cents. Look, China has taken advantage of the United States until I came here with Sleepy Joe Biden and Obama and Bush and everybody else. I'm not blaming them. I'm blaming everybody. They were allowed to $500 billion a year they were taking out. We had trade deficits that were so large, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we've changed it. Look, now we're taking in billions of dollars, and we gave some to our farmers because China, they targeted our farmers. And our farmers are very happy, and our farmers got through a very rough period because of what I was able to do. Took the money from China and gave it to the farmers, and we had plenty left over after that. Now we're going into a phase 2 negotiation with China, but we're getting 25% on $250 billion, and then we're getting a lot on money after that. So we've never had a deal with China. China took advantage of the United States, and you know what? I don't blame China for that. I blame the people that were right here because they should have never allowed it to happen. But the relationship with China has been a very good one. John?
Mr. President, did President Xi ask you to calm that language down or to not use that
He
language?
never asked me to comment on it. Somebody might have spoken to somebody, but nobody spoke to me about it. I think it was time, though, because, I talk about the Chinese virus. And I mean it, that's where it came from. If you look at Ebola, if you look at Lyme, right? Lyme, Connecticut, you look at all these different horrible diseases, they seem to come with the name, with the location. And this was the Chinese virus. But I don't have to say it if they feel so strongly about it. We'll see. But we just made a great deal with China, great hopefully for both parties, but we made a deal with China and we're going to do another one, it looks like. They want to do it very badly. Maybe they'll want to wait, like Iran, they want to wait to see whether or not Trump gets beaten in the election, because would they love to negotiate with Biden or somebody else other than me would love it. That's their best dream in the world. So many others. So there are some that maybe are, waiting till after November 3rd. But I think we're doing very well. It would be sad if we blew all of the advantages that we have right now, because we've made unbelievable trade deals, whether it's Mexico, Canada, Japan, South Korea, China, and others. We have changed the whole thing around. Please.
Mr. President, earlier today, you sent a notification letter to the nation's governor saying that you will soon come out with new guidelines about social distancing and other items. Do you have any data yet to suggest which specific areas of the country may have their guidelines relaxed?
Yeah.
Which areas of the country may have their guidelines?
I think Deborah will talk to you about that, and Tony in a few minutes, but I think we'll start talking about that, because we have to open up. We can't say, let's close. People don't want to close, John. I say it again and again. The reason I do, because I want you to report it eventually. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
From President Xi, what do you want to talk to him about?
Yeah, it's his call. I mean, I'll talk to him whatever he wants to. I mean, we'll have, I think, a very fruitful call. Have a good call tonight at 9 o'clock, please.
Is it about the virus officer?
Yes, in the back. We'll be talking about that. Yeah, we'll be talking about the virus.
Thank you.
Yeah, in the back first, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Despite the jobless claim numbers today, the market rallied again. It's up over 4,000 points the last 3 days.
Record.
Now the largest rise since 1931. Do you think that the economic uncertainty has passed?
No, not yet. It hasn't passed, but it's come a long way. I think they think we're doing a really good job in terms of running this whole situation having to do with the virus. I think they feel that, the administration, myself and the administration, are doing a good job of keeping very importantly people informed, because it was a great fear. And a lot of good things are happening. The mortality rate is at in my opinion, you'll have to speak to Deborah, Tony, all of the others, but in my opinion, it's way, way down. And that takes a lot of fear out. It's one thing to have it, it's another thing to die. When I first got involved, I was being told numbers that were much, much higher than the number that seems to be. And remember that people that have it, many people have it. I just spoke to 2 people, they had it, they never went to a doctor. They had it, absolutely had it, but they never went to a doctor. They never went to anything, they didn't report it. You have thousands and hundreds of thousands of cases like that. So you have to add that to the caseload also. And the people that actually die, that percentage is a much lower percentage than I ever thought. That's one of the reasons I say, look, we're gonna beat this and we're gonna get back to work. Yes, please.
Administration today, the DOJ announced charges against Nicolas Maduro for drug trafficking. They've designated him as a narco-terrorist. It's also expected that Venezuela's going to get hit really hard by the coronavirus. Does the administration see this as a weak point for the Maduro regime?
No, we don't look at a weak point. This is a serious problem for over 150 nations, the virus. I would say this, Maduro and Venezuela, we're watching it very closely. We'll see what happens. But that is correct. Those charges were made. Please.
That he used the Defense Production Act on 2 minor occasions.
Yeah.
What were those?
We will give you that notification. We'll let you know. Okay?
Can I follow up on John's question about the classifying for counties? A lot of these areas have not done testing yet. Is it safe to say that the current guidelines will be extended into next week? Will you wait to change those guidelines until you have the data yet?
I want those guidelines to go even when we're open and fully operational. And frankly, much of the guidelines, like shaking hands, maybe people aren't going to be shaking hands anymore. Tony had mentioned to me, Tony Fauci, the other day, that I don't think he would be too upset with the concept of not shaking hands. He was saying that the flu would cut down, the regular flu would be cut down by quite a bit if we didn't do that, if we didn't shake hands. The regular flu, of which, you have a lot of deaths and a lot of problems with that too. So I think a lot of great things are gonna, when we're open, just to finish, when we're open, as soon as we open, that doesn't mean we're gonna stop with the guidelines. You'll still try and distance yourself, maybe not to the same extent because you have to lead a life. But I think the time is coming. How about one more question? Go ahead, in the back.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I also have 2 questions because I'm asking on behalf of foreign press as well. So one domestic question, one international. Domestically, you just tweeted the other day saying that it's very important that we totally protect Asian Americans.
Yes, I did. Very important to me.
But still millions.
Very important to me. We have to protect our Asian Americans. It's a very important. That was a very important tweet to me because I didn't like things that I was hearing. Please go ahead.
Well, what's the concrete measure that you're taking to combat the hate crimes against Asians?
Well, I don't know. All I know is this: Asian Americans in our country are doing fantastically well. I'm very close to them, as you know, and they're doing fantastically well. And I think they appreciate the job we're doing. But I did want to put that statement on the social media statement. Because to me, Asian Americans are a great part of our country. Thank you all very much. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. The White House Coronavirus Task Force met today. We continue to move out on President Trump's directive to slow the spread with mitigation, to advance and expand testing across the country, and to work on the critical supplies that our healthcare workers in our nation needs. Today, the President convened the nation's governors, all of the states and territories, and reiterated to them that with FEMA in the lead, our approach is, our response to the coronavirus in this country is locally executed, healthcare workers, local public health officials. It is state managed, and it is federally supported. We took the opportunity to thank all of the governors across the country, our states and territories, for their incredible leadership and the partnership they forged with this administration. We were able to confirm that 10 major disaster declarations have been issued, most recently to New Jersey, North Carolina, Florida, Texas, and Illinois. We spoke to them about the importance of the economic recovery legislation that will come before the House of Representatives, we believe, tomorrow midday. And we're grateful for their efforts in working for that unanimous bipartisan vote in the United States Senate last night. In addition to direct payments for American families, the average family of 4 will receive a direct payment of some $3,400. They'll also receive payroll report. Many of the small businesses, even those restaurants that you just spoke about, will now be able to keep people on the payroll for a period of months, even if the restaurant or the business is not open. With the governors, though, we talked about the $150 billion in direct aid to the states, $100 billion in direct assistance to hospitals, and of course the expansion of unemployment benefits to make sure that our states have the resources to meet the challenges that were so evident in those unemployment numbers this morning. On the subject of testing, I'm pleased to report the testing is available in all 50 states. And in partnership with commercial labs across America, this morning we received word that 552,000 tests have been performed and completed all across the United States. We want to thank the American Hospital Association and hospitals across the country that are just now beginning to report in a fulsome way the results of those tests. And when the President signs the law tomorrow, it will actually be required by law. But as Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci have explained many times at this podium, it's so important that any hospital or any lab that's doing testing report back to the CDC and FEMA so we have full visibility and to provide the President with the very best counsel. Good news today on testing. Abbott Laboratories submitted to the FDA today a request for approval of a point-of-care test. This would be the kind of test where you could go to your doctor. You can get the test done there at your doctor and have the results in no more than 15 minutes. Dr. Steve Hahn will be here tomorrow to talk about progress in evaluating Abbott Laboratories' point-of-care test. Also, speaking of the FDA, on the subject of swabs, the FDA did announce earlier this week that testing symptomatic patients on the front of the nose is perfectly appropriate, and it's already begun across the country. It allows for self-collection, and it also relieves the burden on healthcare protection. It saves personal protective equipment from being expended when people can administer a test themselves. And Dr. Birx will speak about the importance and the availability of swabs. With regard to supplies, you heard the President speak about what we have already shipped out from the National Strategic Stockpile. More than 9 million N95 masks for healthcare workers, 20 million surgical masks, 6,000 ventilators, and millions of gloves and gowns and face shields. In addition to that, we are working with a number of suppliers to manufacture ventilators, even while we work with state leaders to assess not just what ventilators are available in their state hospitals, but what ventilators are available in private hospitals across their state. And governors across the country are doing great work evaluating the full supply of tens of thousands of ventilators that are available. Let me also say thank you to the American Society of Anesthesiologists and Dr. Mary Peterson. The American Society of Anesthesiologists actually produced a video. Tomorrow they will host a webinar for healthcare workers to demonstrate how the devices that anesthesiologists use can be very easily converted into a ventilator that's appropriate for a patient struggling with respiratory ailment like the coronavirus. And we're very grateful. This actually adds tens of thousands of devices to the supply. And we're all truly grateful to Dr. Peterson and the whole association for their full cooperation. With 5 of 10 counties in the country being the top counties for coronavirus being in the New York City metropolitan area, let us reiterate our recommendation that any resident of the greater New York City area who has traveled elsewhere in the United States, please check your temperature, mind your health, and self-isolate for 14 days. What we don't want, again, with 5 of the top 10 counties for coronavirus being in the greater New York City area, we don't want anyone, and no one would want to, inadvertently carry the coronavirus to a community or to a family member inadvertently because they've come out of that community. So again, as Dr. Fauci said recently, if you come out of New York over the last several weeks, before the mitigation measures are put into effect, in particular, check your temperature, mind your health, and self-isolate for 14 days. It is inspiring as I prepare to introduce Dr. Birx to talk about the data that we're monitoring on a regular basis, and Dr. Fauci to talk about mitigation. Let me conclude by saying how inspiring it is to see the way America and the American people are responding to this moment.
Well, we're inspired by you and President Trump,
record unemployment numbers,
Mike Pence.
Not unexpected during
You all have done a great job.
National crisis that we are facing. But what you may not know is that while there were some 3 million plus new unemployment claims, Walmart announced they're hiring 150,000 new associates through the end of May. Amazon, a few weeks back, announced they're hiring 100,000 additional warehouse employees to meet a growing demand at Amazon for online purchases. CVS Health is going to provide bonuses to their employees working with patients and hire 50,000 workers. And Pizza Hut, I'm told, is planning to hire more than 30,000 permanent employees. And that's just a short summary of a list that totals almost 500,000 jobs that have been announced by businesses around America.
Where it looks domestically, I won't talk so much about the global issues at this time. We do have 19 out of our 50 states, to be reminded, that had early cases but have persistently low level of cases, and at this point have less than 200 cases. So that's almost 40% of the country with extraordinarily low numbers.